It's 3 in the morning. You're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you because you already know checking it won't help. You wonder if something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain isn't broken. It's remembering something your body has never forgotten. For most of human history, sleep didn't look like this. One long block. Lights off, 8 hours, silence. That idea is new, almost embarrassingly new. And for tens of thousands of years before it, your ancestors slept in a completely different rhythm, one that modern life quietly erased. Here's where it gets strange. In the 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. He took a group of people and removed artificial light from their evenings for weeks at a time. No lamps, no screens, just darkness, the way it would have existed before electricity. What happened next surprised almost everyone involved. The subjects didn't sleep for one long stretch. They slept for about 4 hours, woke up naturally, stayed calmly awake for 1 or 2 hours in the middle of the night, and then fell back asleep for another 4 hours. Wehr called this pattern segmented sleep. Some historians call it first sleep and second sleep. Either way, it wasn't insomnia. It was default human behavior, waiting under the surface the entire time. Think about that for a second. The thing keeping you awake at 3 a.m. might not be a malfunction. It might be a memory. Historian Roger E. Kirch spent years digging through court records, diaries, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, and he found something remarkable. References to first sleep and second sleep were everywhere. Ordinary. Unremarkable. People used that quiet waking window for prayer, for quiet conversation, for lovemaking, for reflecting on dreams while they were still fresh. Some visited neighbors. Some just lay in the dark and thought. Nobody panicked about it. Nobody called it a disorder. It was simply Tuesday night. So what changed? Light changed. Cheap, abundant, artificial light. Before candles were common and before gas lamps lit city streets, night was long and mostly dark. 14 hours of darkness in winter wasn't unusual at certain latitudes. That's a lot of night to fill with only one sleep cycle. The body adapted by breaking rest into 2 phases with a buffer of calm wakefulness in between. It wasn't a flaw in the design, it was the design. Then artificial light arrived, and it didn't just let people stay up later. It rewired expectations about what a normal night should look like. Factories needed workers who slept in one tidy block so they could show up on time. Clocks needed to be obeyed, not negotiated with. Slowly across only a few generations, segmented sleep didn't disappear from biology. It disappeared from culture. The habit got buried, but the underlying wiring stayed exactly the same. That's the twist most people miss. When you wake at 3 a.m. and lie there worrying that you're doing sleep wrong, you're actually doing something closer to what your body was built for. The failure isn't in your biology. It's in the expectation that sleep should be one uninterrupted block, an expectation that's maybe 200 years old, layered on top of biology that's a few 100,000 years old. But there's more to this than just light and clocks. Sleep itself is older and stranger than most people assume. Long before Homo sapiens existed, other early humans were almost certainly sleeping in ways shaped by danger, not comfort. Evolutionary anthropologist David Sampson has studied sleep among modern hunter-gatherer groups, including the Hadza of Tanzania, to understand what pre-industrial human sleep might have really looked like. What he found challenges another modern myth, the idea that ancient humans slept in long, deep, unbroken stretches because they had simpler lives. They didn't. Hadza sleep, tracked with wrist monitors, showed something surprising. It was fragmented, lighter, and staggered across the group. At almost any given moment during the night, someone in the camp was awake. Not because anyone assigned a watch. It happened naturally, almost like a rotating alarm system built directly into the group's biology. Why would sleep evolve to work that way? Because for most of human history, a fully unconscious group was a vulnerable group. Predators didn't wait for daylight. A body that could rouse easily, that shifted between light and deep sleep, that occasionally left someone alert in the dark, was a body more likely to survive the night. Deep, uninterrupted, single-block sleep might feel efficient to a modern mind optimizing for a workday. But to a small band sleeping in the open, it could have been a liability. This reframes something else too. Anxiety at night. That specific wired feeling of unease when you're alone in the dark. Some researchers connect this to what's sometimes called the Sentinel Hypothesis, the idea that a portion of the brain stays partially on guard during sleep, especially in unfamiliar environments. It's why the first night in a new place often feels lighter, more fragile, easier to interrupt. One half of the brain, quite literally, sleeps a little less deeply than the other. Your ancestors needed that asymmetry to survive nights in the open. You inherited it, even though your bedroom door locks and nothing outside is hunting you. So the racing thoughts at 3 a.m., the light sleep in a hotel room, the strange alertness after a bad dream. None of that is random. It's an old survival circuit still running quietly in a world that no longer needs it the way it once did. Here's where the story gets even more interesting. Segmented sleep wasn't just a survival tool. It may have been a creative one. That middle-of-the-night window Ekirch documented wasn't wasted time. People described it as unusually clear-headed, almost meditative. No obligations, no daylight tasks pulling at attention, just a quiet stretch where the mind could wander freely between waking logic and the residue of dreams. Some historians have speculated that this liminal window contributed to storytelling traditions, quiet problem-solving, and even early forms of what we'd now call reflection or therapy, all happening in the dark, between two sleeps, with nothing but firelight and conversation. Compare that to how the modern world treats the same hour. If you wake at 3 a.m. now, the instinct is dread. You check the time, you calculate how many hours are left, you reach for a phone, and a screen full of blue light tells your brain it's daytime, which suppresses melatonin and makes falling back asleep even harder. The ancient version of this moment was calm. The modern version is panic, manufactured almost entirely by the assumption that anything other than one continuous sleep block means something has gone wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. Something old has simply resurfaced. None of this means you should abandon a consistent sleep schedule, or that modern sleep advice is worthless. Consistent light exposure, a cool room, a wind-down routine, these genuinely help align a body that's now living inside artificial light instead of natural darkness. But understanding where the pressure to sleep perfectly actually comes from changes how it feels to fail at it occasionally. It's not a personal defect. It's a mismatch between an ancient rhythm and a relatively recent expectation. So the next time you wake in the dark and your mind starts turning, try noticing it differently. Not as insomnia, not as a problem to solve immediately. Maybe as an old rhythm reintroducing itself, one your ancestors would have recognized instantly. They didn't fight it, they used it. Some of them told stories in it. Some of them just watched the fire and let their minds drift. You don't have 4 hours of candlelit darkness anymore. You have a phone, a clock, and a culture that treats wakefulness at 3 a.m. as failure. But the wiring underneath all of that is exactly the same wiring that once kept a small group of humans alive through a long, dark, unlit night. It's 3 in the morning. You're staring at the ceiling. And for the first time, maybe that doesn't feel like something broken. Maybe it just feels like something very, very old, quietly checking in,